Ross Jackson's got an awesome piece up at louisianasports.net. Just got a ton of information packed into it, more than I'm going to be able to get to in one segment here. But it's talking about the trade deadline approaching here on November the 4th. And you got about 3 weeks to get your ducks in a row if you're the Saints. And I think we now need to start questioning, like, we don't have to question if. Like, the Saints know where they are as an organization. You saw them trade an actual asset for a player that can't play this year in Ja'Kai Polk. Like, they traded for a guy that can't play this year. That tells you they got eyes on the future, right? So we don't have to ask whether or not the front office is even aware that this is a rebuild. And that was a reasonable question because of how the Saints had doubled down over the years and never fully admitted to, hey, we need to take a step back. You trade for a guy that can't play this year, you realize that you're taking a step back. So now you understand, and they did that with Marshawn Lattimore when they traded him away last year as well. Like, they have now made multiple moves that suggest they understand where they are. So now we can understand how to restock these shelves the best you can. And the best way, as we've talked about to restart this thing is to get younger and cheaper. And the only way to do that is in the draft. You can do it to an extent with undrafted free agents. But trying to make a roster full of undrafted free agents is not going to go very well. Draft picks are cheap and they're young by definition. You've got to go ahead and get some draft capital in your organization. And so, what can you do with the guys that you currently have? And Ross lays it out by player. Starts with Chris Olave. We can probably agree he is the best young asset the Saints probably have. He's proven as a 1,000-yard receiver. He was a first-round pick. He had a terrible game on Sunday. Got it. He's not really a number one receiver. Got it. But he can play in the NFL. That is a proven fact. And so if you're a really good team that's looking for a 2, Chris Olave makes a ton of sense. But what can you get back for it? And Ross writes, a typical top-end wide receiver gets a second-round pick. The Bills traded Stephon Diggs, a 5th and 6th-round pick to Houston for a second-round pick. If you can get a second-round pick for Chris Olave, maybe in a little bit more, either some, like a pick swap, 6th and 7th round, something like that, like I would listen to that phone call because Chris Olave's had his 5th-year option picked up. He's a guy that's not going to cost a ton next year, but moving beyond that is going to be a little bit more expensive. I'm not saying kick him out the door for nothing, but I'm listening if you can get a second-round pick for Chris Olave. And keep in mind, let me just put a little caveat on this. If your take on the matter is, who cares what draft picks they got because Mickey Loomis and Ireland are clowns and they can't draft anybody. If that's your take, then this entire conversation is moot, and the Saints are not worth talking about until they're gone. But while those guys are employed, we're going to talk about the Saints. You got to take a practical approach here. If you can get a second-round pick and maybe a little bit more for Olave, I am absolutely interested in seeing what you can move on from him. We've talked about Rashid Shaheed. I think Rashid Shaheed has probably still got 3 to 4 years of really high-end NFL speed left in him. If he's a freak of nature like Ted Ginn, maybe you're talking about 5 more years of elite-level speed, and that is his number one trait. But you can reach out and touch his 30th birthday. So you feel like that doesn't last forever. But he's certainly got high-end speed right now. And if you are a team that's lacking a deep threat, there's probably not a better one on the market today. Because if you look back over the last 5 years, the only player that has had more explosive receptions than Rashid Shaheed in the entire National Football League is Tyreek Hill, and he's in the hospital. So this is the guy. He's the top of the market. If somebody's got to have what he's got, I'll listen. And as Ross writes, the valuation's a little bit different. He's set to become an unrestricted free agent after this season. So in that term, you're looking at a rental. This is a rental. That's a Major League Baseball term, but it applies here. You're talking about a guy that you're only going to get half a season out of unless you extend that contract. So the Saints are going to get a compensatory pick if they extend that offer. They will. So do you want to move on for something concrete right now or see how the free agency process plays with Shaheed? This is one of those deals where it's tough to analyze on the front end because you don't know what the value is potentially coming back. But if you can get a day 2 pick, which I don't think you could, but if you could get a day 2 pick, I would be interested in that. I'm not, again, another guy I'm not kicking out the door. But okay. Now, Brandin Cooks is the third piece to this puzzle here. And this is a guy I would kick out the door. That's nothing against Brandin Cooks, but he's old. He's 32. And I don't have any use for him on the next really good Saints team. So if there is any sort of asset that you can grab for Brandin Cooks, I am all ears. 6th-round pick, yep, I'll take it. Like, I don't see a spot for Brandin Cooks moving forward on the roster, which means any asset you get back for Brandin Cooks, I would absolutely take. He's been healthy after a year last year where he was banged up, so that's a feather in your cap as the Saints. If you could get a day 3 pick, some sort of pick swap, absolutely bring it on as far as that goes. Pete Werner. Pete Werner plays a position that generally doesn't net a lot on the trade market. He's an inside backer. As Ross writes, in 2023, Isaiah Simmons got moved for a 2024 7th-round pick. Last year, Ernest Jones II got moved on for a 6th-round pick to a 5th-round pick swap. Kenneth Murray got sent to the Cowboys, allowing the Tennessee Titans to get a 7th-round pick. If you trade Werner, you're probably talking about a 7th-round pick. It's something. Am I just dying to get that done? I just don't think that's a significant needle mover to me. I'm not going to spend a lot of time thinking about it. Werner's been a very much replacement level linebacker for the Saints. Has some days where you're like, oh, that guy, decent day. And you have some days where you're like, this guy can't cover a soul, whatever. I'm not too been out of shape about the Pete Werner situation. Now, Carl Granderson's interesting. He's the most productive player you've got on defense thus far this season. He's got 4.5 sacks through 6 games. He plays a premium position. You could get a lot for Carl Granderson. You could get maybe a day 2 selection. Maybe. Chase Young was picked up by San Francisco for a 3rd-round pick. Granderson's probably, this is a guess on my part, obviously, probably his best football's behind him, but he's not over the hill. Like, this is not a guy who's well past his prime. His production right now is suggesting that he's playing good football. He's 28. You can rush the passer at 30. So I'm not desperate to move on from Carl Granderson, but unlike Werner, you're talking about a guy in Carl Granderson who plays a premium position, and you might be able to get a team maybe that's dealing with an injury, maybe that feels like that's the missing piece to overextend. And if, for goodness sakes, if you can pull up to a 2nd-round pick, I'm all over it. I don't think that's realistic, but 3rd-round pick, I'm listening. I'm listening. When you got a guy that's 28 years old, I'm listening. Now, Cam Jordan and Kamara are the last 2 pieces to this puzzle. They are Saints lifers. They're at the end of their rope from an NFL perspective. Cam Jordan probably closer to the end than Kamara. It appears to me that the front office has gone to those 2 guys, and those 2 guys suggested they don't want to be traded. This is going to be unpopular with Saints fans when I'm saying this, but I believe this. I have a duty, if I'm Mickey Loomis in this front office, to do what's in the best interest of the Saints, not shine a spotlight on the twilight of a great Saints career. If there is some sort of return for those guys, it is a dereliction of duty not to answer the phone. Say, well, can't touch him. Cam's had a lot of sacks for the Saints. He's going in the Hall of Fame one day. We can't get rid of him because he was really good 5 years ago. Kamara, most touchdowns in Saints history. I can't trade that. Yes, you can. You can. And if I don't believe that Cam Jordan commands almost any return. And so I don't think that this is going to be a conversation worth having. Kamara might. He's not going to be somebody's lead back, I don't think, but he can help in your backfield. And he's a great clubhouse locker room guy. But I'm not willing to suggest that because you were super productive for the Saints in 2018 that you are untradeable out of respect in 2025. Again, that's not going to be popular with Saints fans, and I understand it. But the Saints are in a hole, and they've got to do whatever they can to get out of it. If that means you move on from a defensive end at the end of his career, like I'm not just going to hold up because things were great 5 years ago. So to me, I don't think Cam Jordan and Kamara move because I don't think they command a lot in trade value and they want to stay, and I believe that the front office will keep them there. I don't think Carl Granderson will move, even though I think they'll probably take some phone calls. I don't think Warner moves. Cooks, proven pro, vet, need a number 3 receiver because somebody got hurt and you're a contender. Absolutely, and it won't cost a lot for teams to get him, and the Saints can take whatever they can for him. I think Olave and Shaheed are very, very fascinating. I would absolutely be open and willing to trade either one of them if the return is good enough, and I think Olave's would be the best, and I'd be willing to move on from him. That's my thought on this entire matter. We've got 3 weeks to chop it up, but hopefully the Saints are able to recoup some draft assets, and then they can use that to try to land more young, affordable players on next year's roster. Appreciate Ross Jackson for putting that up at LouisianaSports.net. You can read it for free along with his thoughts, and you can find our stuff, Hunt on Saints, wherever you find your podcasts. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.